back to my channel. So today I figured that we could talk about no before you start a diet. Yes, today let's just do a little full disclosure, okay? Today I'm going to be talking about diets, dieting in general. I understand that we don't think about it as a diet, exercise. It's lifestyle. Your lifestyle changes. But since we're going to be talking about food in particular, that's why I'm going to be using the term diet. Like I said, full disclosure, I am not poor doctor totally yet. I am transitioning. Yes, I understand. You have to get into this mindset before you sit down and do homework for hours upon hours upon hours. So I'm starting to get into it, okay? And I just had a snack, and in full disclosure, it's almost that time of the month, so I had a lovely snack of oatmeal and peanut butter, and oh, it makes my tummy feel so good and so full, and I'm going to be full for a while. I haven't taken my makeup off. I have a little bit of makeup on, just like eyeliner and mascara, but I'm going to take it off, obviously, because I rub my eyes, I put eye drops in, I make faces, so wearing makeup when I do homework is not optimal. Anyway, that's out of the way. Let's talk about starting a diet, because we've all been quarantined, or at least we'll talk about being quarantined and not being quarantined, and how we're moving forward eating wise. This is going to be kind of a two-parter. No before you diet, and then I'm going to have a no before you go vegan one, because there was all these things I didn't know about. Anyway, so if you were not quarantined, and by not quarantined, I mean those of you who worked in healthcare who had to go to work. Now, I understand, people don't understand this, but I understand that, sometimes when you work in healthcare, sometimes you actually, as a doctor, as a dentist, as a personal caretaker, sometimes you have the luxury of doing telemedicine sessions. Sometimes you don't. So if you are one of the lovely people who continue to work in the hospital, I understand that it probably took a major strain. I mean, it took a major strain on me, and we didn't really there weren't breaks like there normally are. People were running all over the place. At first it was very, very chaotic. Then you kind of got into a groove, and then now it's sort of slowing down, getting a little bit more back to normal. But when your stress levels are really high, when you're working long hours, when you're tired, when you're not sleeping well, of course I did all of these things, then you start to crave different types of food. Whenever I'm tired, I crave carbs, obviously, because my body doesn't want to work for the nutrition. Sometimes I crave fat if it's that time of the month and I'm tired, like right now. So anyway, so I understand that if you're in that boat, you might want to start a diet, you know. If you're the opposite and you had the luxury of working from home, you might have ate a little too much or ate a little bit too much junk food. I don't really know how that happened. Maybe somebody can let me know. But so with me, I was working a lot during the quarantine, but I wasn't necessarily getting paid regularly. The payment was delayed, just because of the process and the changes and the structure of the facility I work at. Everything sort of changed monetary wise. There was a little bit of a delay. And I should have expected this, but I didn't. Food inflation. The cost of food went up. We all see that the gas prices went down, but the cost of food did go up. And I am Miss Budgeter, okay? Prior to quarantine, I had a $65 budget monthly for food, and I stuck to that. Actually, normally it was lower. Normally it was between 50 and 60. I was doing pretty good. 65 was the limit. And in that first month of quarantine, literally, I bought cabbage. I bought lentils because lentils were cheaper than beans, okay? I bought cornflakes because they were pretty darn cheap. And I'm trying to think, I bought like peanut butter. Okay, so 4 items, maybe 5. Maybe let's just throw in some lemons. Usually I always buy lemons. So 5 different items, and none of them consisted of meat, none of them consisted of dairy, because usually those are the food categories that raise the price. And it costs $20, literally every single week almost. Then, oh my gosh, then it got to the point where like April, so like March ended up spending, I think close to like $70 on groceries, and then April it went up to 80, and then May it was like close to 85. It was ridiculous, and the problem was that my paycheck wasn't coming in. So somebody tell me down below how you were possibly able to buy comfort food, because I certainly wasn't. I ate lentils and cabbage every single day during quarantine, and some cornflakes and some peanut butter. I got all the food groups, right? I had vegetables, protein, and fat. But it's not good to eat cabbage and lentils and peanut butter and cornflakes. Like, there is no nutritional value in any of that. Like, there's a lack of, you need more variety. So then once everything started to get back to normal, my paycheck started to get more lined up, I started eating broccoli, spinach, because I could buy these things now, and then my stomach got real upset, and I got really bloated because my stomach was so used to digesting cabbage, not leafy greens. So I need to go on a diet too, believe it or not. And no, I didn't lose any weight, honestly, because I ate the same amount. I ate and I burned the same amount of calories as I did prior to quarantine, so I didn't like lose any weight. It was just the micronutrients in my foods weren't that great. The macros were there and the micros weren't, obviously, but it was because of a we were in a financial crisis, people. At least my household was. So, at least I was. I don't think anyone else in my household actually. I think everybody else was fine. I think it was just me. Anyway, but moving on. So, if you want to start a diet, and we're going to talk about, like, well, I'm plant-based, but we'll talk about the vegan diet. We'll talk about vegetarian. We'll talk about keto. We'll talk about, what's the other one? Atkins. And there's so many things in between, okay? So, let's just start with if you're on a restrictive diet. And intermittent fasting, in my personal opinion, falls in a restrictive diet type. And I'll explain why. Yes, I pronounced it intermittent fasting. I pronounced all the syllables because I really don't know how to pronounce it. But, so when you're on a restrictive diet, the easiest way to become successful in a restrictive diet, like keto, like vegan, like intermittent fasting, is to set yourself up for success. Be around people who are doing the same exact thing as you. Working in the medical community, nobody is healthy. It's kind of weird. I'm like the healthiest person that I work with, which doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you people see like cardiac arrest, you people see lung disease, you people see literally see the cancer cells. Like, how are you not healthy? Whatever the case, I don't know. But so that being said, if you're in an environment like that, it can be really difficult to transition into a more restrictive diet because the people around you are not doing it. And there's a lot of things that we're actually not supposed to be doing digestive-wise. So one, for example, is eating and drinking at the same time. You're supposed to eat your meal, then drink. Nobody does that. You're actually also supposed to have certain foods with other foods, like food pairings. For example, I recently learned this from my dietitian. I cooked my cabbage in olive oil. Well, olive oil is a great oil. It's my favorite type of oil. But the thing is that you shouldn't be cooking food with olive oil at a high temperature, because olive oil doesn't necessarily break down. It doesn't. The properties don't get absorbed in your body. It's meant for a salad dressing, room temperature, maybe a little bit of heat, marinated. It's not necessarily supposed to be a cooking oil. So that was something that I learned. And it makes sense, because when I cooked my cabbage in olive oil, I still crave peanut butter after. But when I cooked my cabbage in grapeseed oil, first of all, you can reuse grapeseed oil, fun fact, and I didn't necessarily crave fat afterwards. I didn't crave a fat source like peanut butter after the meal. Grapeseed oil is a wonderful oil, by the way. I know it's expensive. I get it from the discount market, because they have it at the discount market. They have it at Big Lots by me. They have it at TJ Maxx also. TJ Maxx, Marshalls. That's where I get mine from. And you don't use that much. Like I said, I reuse it. So, but things like that, like olive oil is supposed to be paired with like salads and breads. And sometimes at restaurants, they don't necessarily do that. Also, you all know that I do the whole protein and vegetable pairing, and then carb and vegetable pairing. Restaurants don't do that either. So you have to remember that society, overall, if you're trying to go on a restrictive diet, actually, if you're trying to do healthy habits even, society here in America does not set you up for success. It never has. I don't think it ever will. A lot of people who are celiac, or they have a gluten intolerance, because there is a difference, they often eat, like I know gluten intolerant individuals can eat pasta in Italy, but they can't eat pasta in the United States. And well, why is that? Because we like our food fast and frozen sometimes. I put everything in the microwave. I'm I contribute to the problem. But like, it's just, here in America, I'm a firm believer that you do need to be on a restrictive diet in order to be skinny. I know it's horrible, and it really shouldn't be that way, and that's why I'm preaching this right now. It should not be that way, okay? You should not have to be keto to be healthy. You should not have to be vegan to be healthy. You should be eating all the food groups. You should be eating balanced meals. But here in America, everything's so processed and everything's so fake and everything's so instant that when you do get something fresh, like, you really need to know where you're getting it from, Like, a lot of people talk about buying stuff, like buying meat from farms. Well, when I lived in New Jersey, there were commercial farms, okay? So yeah, I knew plenty of farms that sold meat. I could totally buy meat from farms if I wanted to, but these farms weren't real farms, they were commercial farms. So like, that's what I mean, is it's very hard in certain areas of the world. And then budgeting wise, it's really hard too. Like, there are times I go to the grocery store and it's like, you buy a corn source of carbohydrates, or you buy a rice source of carbohydrates. You can't buy both. And especially during quarantine, I either bought rice, white rice, because I couldn't afford, or they didn't have brown rice, so white rice, or popcorn. And it was one or the other. Really, it depended on price. It depended on what they had. So when you're low budget wise, it's very difficult to eat a balanced diet in and of itself as well. So it doesn't help in that regard either. But moral of the story here is that when you want to do a more restrictive diet, or a diet in general, you really want to set yourself up for success. You want to be around people that are doing the same sort of thing. They don't necessarily have to be on the same diet as you, but they're trying to be healthy like you. And then you really want to evaluate, take a step back, maybe don't go out to eat, okay? Budget your money, because it is going to be more expensive starting out a diet than it ends up being. When I first went vegan, I think I was living somewhere else, but I think I spent like $100 on groceries, because like I didn't really know what to get and how long things were going to last. And then, like I said, now I'm down to $80, which it was $50, okay? I did split it in half. It's not my fault that there was inflation. So, but the point is that it is going to be more expensive when you start off, because you don't know what types of foods to get. You don't know where to go shopping. You don't know how long this stuff's going to last. Okay, now last but certainly not least, and this goes for any type of diet that has a name. I'm sick and tired of people like naming these diets, okay? Because people are not labels, okay? Like you know, when you tell somebody that you're keto, people, they're like, oh, you're keto, you're keto, you're keto, you're keto. And then it's like, oh, hi, my name is Sally and I'm keto. And it's like, no, like people are not labels, okay? And diets shouldn't be labels either. I say plant-based because that's what I eat, plants. And usually people don't really know what that means, and it shuts them up, because nobody should be talking about food at the dinner table, according to Miss Manners, and I firmly support it too. So I like to just tell people, oh, I like vegetables, you know, oh, I eat plant-based foods, and it like shuts them off. Oh, you like vegetables? Oh, that's nice, you know, or, whatever, the mashed potatoes look good, or what, I don't eat mashed potatoes. The tea, I would love some tea. I love tea. Okay, there you go. End it there. But like, when you start to tell people, when you start to give like a title, like when I said I was vegan, people always had these like negative connotations, and I'll go into more depth about it in my next video. But yeah, so overall, when you're starting a new diet, when you're starting a diet that has a name, this last and final concept is you don't want that diet to now categorize your life. You don't want it to be your definition, because you're not keto, you're not intermittent fasting, you are not vegan, okay? You are you. That's the way it is. And you shouldn't let a diet define you, especially since people change and people adapt and people's bodies change. I mean, everybody thinks puberty is just for teenagers. No, our body goes through so many changes, so many chemical like changes and structures. That's why like we have to take chemistry and physics as physicians, because that's happens in the body all the time. So you maybe being vegan, and I say this all the time, like maybe eating plant-based works for me right now, but it might not work for me forever. So that's why it's important to not think of yourself as a title. Don't define your diet, okay? So there you go. I wish you all the best of luck, and I support anything that you do. Again, I'll have a little bit more details in the next video. I didn't want to make this one too long, because I could go on and talk about this topic for days. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye!